Welcome back, guys, to Maritime Brews at All. That was the wrong title.
But if you're offering me a beer, I'll take it.
I have all the beers. let's try that again.
Okay.
Welcome back, guys, to the episode of Kate and Isaiah Living Large. I'm Isaiah.
And I'm Kate.
And on this episode, we're going to talk about the fat persona. But before we get into that, let's talk a little bit about what's going on in the city. I saw a new store was opening up in the city.
Oh, yeah. The Fat Girl store. Sorry. It's called Torrid, and it's got really hip clothes. I've been to the one in Halifax, and they're super popular online. I have a couple of items of clothing from there. I'm pretty pumped about Torrid opening.
Yeah, it seems like it's gonna be. Is it their second spot in New Brunswick? That's what I read. That's their second spot.
That could be. There might be one in Moncton already.
That probably makes sense.
But for a long time, the only one in Atlantic Canada was in Halifax. So it's nice to see them popping up.
Yeah, no, it's super exciting to see new stores in general popping up in the area, but definitely for plus size people, especially for those things.
Yeah.
What else going on with your life in general?
Well, there are a couple of things, but I'm going to start with a funny one.
Okay, start with a funny one.
I might end with a funny one. First, as I mentioned last time, my last day on the job at CAA. I don't know if I've ever said where I worked before, but let's face it, it's all our friends and family who watch. They know where I worked. Was today with the day of recording, so a couple of days ago when you hear this. And I start my new job on Tuesday, and that's all very exciting. I'll be working for the government. That's all I'll say about that.
That's all I'll say about that.
And super looking forward to the change, although I'll super miss the people that I worked with. Had a lovely parting lunch today, and had a potluck for me earlier in the week. You know, there's lots of food related things when you leave a place to work. And I made just the best friends there. Well, I didn't realize I was going to get choked up.
Oh, no.
Oh, boy.
I mean, this is recording like literally you just left there.
I actually just drove from there to here. So, yeah, it's a little fresh. But it's a very good move for me and very excited about it. And so that's one thing. And I'm going to ask you about your updates, and then I'll tell you the funny story.
I got back to the gym this past week. I was there went Tuesday and Wednesday. I didn't go Thursday, but I did go Tuesday, Wednesday, and then Thursday we got back into Special Olympics season has started up again. We're getting ready. Awesome. Swimming season started, so got a chance to go and coach some swimming.
That's excellent. That's so cool. Watching other people work out is like working out, right?
No, listen, I still get in the pool. I swim. I do things.
Well, there you go. It's done. I got back to the gym this week too. Just one day. It was Thursday, the day you didn't go. And we did one heck of a workout, though. It was called a pyramid. Holy.
Oh, really?
It was wild. Ooh. Anyway, it was fun. But my funny story is I went to see a comedy show at Wasted Day. It was a Case of the Mondays. And if you've never been to Case of the Mondays or the Bomb Show, but any of the comedy shows at Wasted Day, they're really great. And it's a great setup for comedy and really a great setup to do anything. Wasted Day, pretty cool spot.
Yeah, it's a great spot.
And once I got there, the guy who runs it, Kive, he asked me if I would like a spot. And being
Clearly.
This budding comedian, I'll take any stage time anyone will give me. Let's face it, I'll take any time in front of any microphone. Like, I love the sound of my own voice.
Who doesn't love the sound of Isaiah's voice? No,
I mean, when it interrupts mine. I'm just joking. Just kidding. Anyway, so I got called up to the stage, and I tried to make good time because it's really awkward when the clapping runs out before you get to the microphone. So if you're ever at a comedy show, even if it feels awkward, keep clapping until the person makes it to the microphone, even if it seems nonsensical. Just word to the wise. And I took that first step, and in classic Caitlin fashion, I don't know how I did it, but I flattened myself right on stage, face planted, just killed it. And quite hard too. My knees are quite bruised.
You had a case of the Mondays?
I had a case of the Mondays, and without missing a beat, the fellow hosting says, well, welcome Jennifer Lawrence to the stage. And then I quickly got up and got to the microphone and I said, I guess I'm now a physical comedian. And yeah. I went on with my set. But in saying that whole day, I ran into Matt Keenan, who's a good friend of yours.
Yes.
And he's got a really exciting show coming up.
Does. He's actually, I just saw he fully sold out one show completely.
He did, and I have tickets to that.
So yeah, he's doing, if you guys haven't seen it online yet, it's Two Fat Dads. He's touring around it seemed like a lot of the area, doing Hampton and all the
he's going all over New Brunswick. He's doing Hampton, St. John, Moncton, Fredericton, maybe, but definitely Nakawick.
And 2 sets in St. John area now.
Yeah, because he sold out one show. I actually got the last 2 tickets.
What? Oh, that's gonna be good.
You can come with. I haven't given away the second one yet. If you want to come with me.
I don't know if I want to spend that much time with you.
Fair enough. Rats.
But that kind of leads us into our subject, which is, what was the name of the title I said?
It's the
I
fat
literally
persona.
just lost
the name of the episode is the fat persona. And the topic of conversation at hand, as a reminder, because I clearly came up with it.
Clearly. I spaced out my brain on what we were going to call it.
And no, just teasing. Is about how men can lean into that fat persona. You look at even this show, which is cool. This is not a knock on anybody, but Matt Keenan and Joe Bothello, I can't say his last name. That's really awkward. And they're 2 fat dads. They're just leaning into being 2 fat dads. And I wouldn't even call Matt Keenan fat, and I've never met this Joe fella. So but whatever. What does my judgment mean? But how that's very common, and how men can just be like, yep, I'm a fat guy. Lay it on me. And it's very seldom that you see a woman take that same persona.
Yeah, I think it's a safer, it's not like a super safe space for guys, but it is a safer space in general for guys to be bigger, especially as you get older.
Yeah.
Although you still get it, especially from like older, the older generation, typically, oh, looks like you're putting on weight, kind of thing. But I think we use it, guys especially can use it a little bit more as a masking ability and not be made to feel like a pariah of sorts.
Right. And it's a little bit different for women, not to say that these are sweeping statements that are true across the board, because there's very much arguments that you could counteract any of this with, but in general, you see that a man's weight often doesn't preclude them from having relationships or being recognized in society or jobs and job advancement and things like that. It's not a core part of their personality, or it becomes that, and they can just lean into like, we're just 2 fat dads, or the jolliest man alive is Santa Claus. And he's just like, I'm just a fat guy. I'm a fat old guy.
Right. Yeah. And it's definitely a spot for where, again, men are a little bit more lenient on each other, especially as you get older.
Lenient.
I think when you're younger and you're like in high school and even like your university time, I think there is a stigma of being a bigger person and making sure you're fit and all that stuff. But as you get older, I think it becomes more of a whatever, you're getting bigger, it looks like you drank a few extra beer this time around, that kind of thing, right?
Whereas women, you look at a couple of, and we've talked about this before, a couple of big symbols, did it again, big symbols of women who adopt this persona. It's not even persona, who are famous and large. Like you look at Melissa McCarthy and Lizzo and all of these people, and the woman who is in Pitch Perfect, among other movies, the blonde lady whose name from Australia, whose name I forget. Anyway, they kind of were much larger, and not often, but you'll see like Melissa McCarthy lost a bunch of weight. The woman from Mindy Kaling, also larger and lost some weight. And I'm not knocking women for losing weight. To me, it's all about how you feel and do what you do. Sure. And like, I think it's awesome if you want to feel better. If you feel better doing so, cool. At the same time, it's like, oh, nuts. I lost somebody that I looked up to. I mean, I still look up to them, but not in the same way that I see myself in celebrity world. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, 100%. That makes sense. It's like you there's a personification that you can put on someone, and it's interesting to see yourself represented in an environment of sorts.
Right. Yeah, it's like anything else. Like, it's nice to see yourself represented in the screens and pages staring back at you.
No, 100%. Yeah, and I think for women especially, there's definitely less of, for bigger people, and more, the stigma of, well, now it's skinny with fat butts, but that personification has changed a little bit. But
sure, skinny with fat butts and big boobs, really possible for so many.
Right. so easy to accomplish that. Just make a ton of money and go to a plastic surgeon in Florida.
Right. Yeah. If not that much money, just go to Mexico.
But I think, there is a little bit more representation as a bigger person for men. Again, because we talk about it, it's that, people can, as you get older, can be a bigger person, put on weight, and in the male world, it's a little bit more understandable. Although there still is stigma to be, in shape and fit or whatever. There's a lot more representation of, the bigger guy.
Yeah. What do you think that means? Like, in terms of society at large? I did it again. I could just keep punning accidentally, which is odd for me because I usually pun on purpose. But it's a story for society at large. Why do you think that is? Is it the same? I know what I think it is, but why do you think that is?
I think it's the same thing that's always been, is that it's a male dominated world, right? It's what the male gaze is, right? So whatever men feel as attractive, or the general public of men have decided is attractive, is what fits the narrative of what you're seeing on big screen in magazines. Right. And then it kind of trickles down to what women feel like they need to look like, because that's what they're seeing on the big screen.
Almost becomes too that women are for show, whereas men have other attributes. I don't feel this way, in case that's the way this is being read. Men have other attributes that make them successful humans. So it doesn't matter what their body looks like, if they are rich or have a great job or really charismatic, or all these things. If a woman is any of these things, that's not her role. Her role is to be there to be pretty.
We are getting very close to white boy with a podcast style conversation. You don't get the meme. That's fine. I think it's a huge thing though, online right now with podcasts and stuff, is the Andrew Tate style, man is rich and powerful and women are just objects to be objects kind of thing.
Right. But that, that's popular now because that's the way life has been. And it's really only in the last 20 or 30, maybe 40 years that women have stepped up and been like, we're a lot more than that.
Well, and I think right now we have a pendulum swing of backlash where some men feel they've been pushed back out of society, and so they are personifying or pushing themselves to try and be, then I'm going to go back to what it used to be when I was in power.
Right.
And right or wrong, which I think it's wrong.
Yeah, me too.
I think that's kind of why we're seeing more more and more podcasts and more things coming up that are like that Andrew Tate style stuff.
I don't know who Andrew Tate is, but that's okay.
So I'm perpetually online, so I know that stuff. It's yeah.
Is Andrew Tate a podcaster?
And he is now in jail, but yes. Andrew. So yeah, for those of you guys who don't know who Andrew Tate is, congratulations. But I'm about to tell you. So he was a man who fled to Romania. He was from the U.S., fled to Romania because he felt that he could not be accused of SAing people in Romania as much as he could in the U.S. And he felt like he would not do it himself, he said, but he felt like he would get accused if he lived in. He's now in jail for abducting women and making them do webcam shows and things like that. Allegedly, still, I guess I have to say allegedly.
Is it essaying sexual assaulting?
Yes.
Okay.
We just using the podcast safe words.
Oh, didn't know. I didn't know.
But yeah, it's he's now in jail. He may not be in jail anymore. He may be in like house arrest while they go to court in
Sounds
Romania.
like a real good guy. I wonder if he's single.
Well, so a lot of guys looked up to him, and it's an unfortunate.
Well, and that's what you say about the pendulum swing, as in society where women, and not just women and members of the LGBTQ plus community and anybody who has been marginalized are pushing the envelope forward, as they should, toward equality. Some people feel like they're less comfortable than they once were, and that causes friction, of course.
Right.
And I'm not saying anything new or groundbreaking here, but that does make people spike up to say the polar opposite because they feel like they're being disenfranchised. They're not.
No.
They are not. But it is a really complicated. Well, it's not that complicated. It's very echoed throughout history.
Right.
And it's interesting how it does play out into things like what we watch on television, on TikTok, on all of these things. Look, I use a social media thing. I'm there.
I know, right? Yeah, no, 100%. I guess we've been seeing it a lot in our area with the LGBTQ.
Plus.
There's a whole bunch of that.
There are plus covers it all.
Plus covers it all. I'm sorry that I can't remember it all right now.
Two spirited, blah blah blah.
Yeah. But I think that we're seeing that play out here with that pendulum swing right now. People pushing back against it here and thinking that, I think it has to do with them, that other side, feeling like they've been pushed back, which they have not. But it's a pushback against perceived threat to their dominance.
And I almost think that it goes as much to that, but more that there's so much organization and communication online behind a screen that people get much more vitriolic, all people on all sides.
Yeah.
Than they would if people were having in-person conversations, because it's a lot harder to.
Yeah, you're definitely right. The keyboard warrior thing is a huge thing, and I think people are definitely more siloed in their thoughts now too. And if I don't like what you're saying, I can block you. So then everyone I talk to has the same opinion as me, and so everyone else is wrong because clearly you're in the minority because all these people are talking the same language I talk.
Exactly, and you live in an echo chamber.
That's right. Which kind of takes us back to, the when guys can be bigger, and in comedy and in popular culture, we can. There is that representation, and so you see it on the stage, you see it in movies, you see people all time looking like that in society versus what is propped up from the woman's side or female side of it, which is, the skinny, big butt, big boob type of person, right?
Well, and you know what? And I've been, I mean, very quietly and without much success, have been trying to, even the use of the word fat.
Right.
Men lean into that like two fat dads. And I mean, you should go check out that comedy show.
Yeah,
Matt Keenan's hilarious. And like, it's just a worthwhile thing to support and do. And local comedy is just great. So that's also a plug, but to just unabashedly use that word. And I very intentionally chose Fat Caitlin as my TikTok handle for that reason.
Right.
And not because I'm on a crusade and I'm trying to change the world, one TikTok handle at a time.
Taking it back.
But and I don't want to equate this to anything much more serious.
No.
Because there are much more serious things in terms of being marginalized. But using a word for what it is and not letting somebody use it against you is important to me. And I don't think it needs to be important to everyone. And
well, I think there's definitely a way of using the word to take the sting away from what it could be used for.
Right.
That's definitely a thing. I mean, that people do all the time. So I think that's definitely a world in which we live in, is using it, right? Using like the F word is used often in the gay community. Mm-hmm. And that is a slur for any of us that are cisgender to use.
That F word.
That F word.
Man, you're speaking a lot of acronyms today, Isaiah.
I know.
It's really confusing.
I'm sorry. The F word that
means a cigarette in Britain.
Yes, that means a cigarette in Britain. It is used in the gay community often, at least in my experiences, that we're not allowed to use, and it's kind of like them taking that word back to like be on there and take away that kind of sting.
Right. And I'm not a person who wants to push any envelopes and say, well, a word is just a word, because that's not true, because there's a lot of meaning attached to certain words that we are not entitled to use, because there's been so much atrocity that have been attached to them. Having said that, if we call these things out as we see them, and there is kind of that take back situation, then the word becomes meaningless.
Right.
And I don't think that's true for words that are already too far gone. Like, I'm not advocating for the use of the N word at any moment or the R word or anything like that. But what I am saying, a word like fat, well, it is a descriptor. You know what a child is going to say who has no ill will meant toward that when they see me walking up the road? Oh, there's a fat girl.
Right. It's just
they're not going to say there's a full figured girl.
That'd be awkward for a child to say.
Yeah.
To be fair.
Yeah.
Right. But yeah, no, they're 100%. There are words that we.
But fat doesn't mean bad.
There are words that people use to make people feel bad about themselves that aren't necessarily meant to, like the word fat. And I think that, the use of it definitely dulls that down.
Yeah. But yeah, on that note.
On this very interesting subject that we talked about today, where can people find you online?
People can find me at TikTok at Fat Caitlin. Woo! See what I did there? The Caitlin Dean on Twitter, or X, or whatever. Facebook, I'm Caitlin Dean. Kate and Isaiah Living Large on Facebook. I did that without even hesitating this time. Who am I? And what about you? I am Maritime Brews everywhere. And of course, you can always help go to that fund for a microphone at the Buy Me a Coffee. Isaiah was shopping before I got here. I was shopping. I was looking dreaming, really. It is true. I was looking at the Long McQuaid site at the beautiful mic that we want to grab, and maybe a mixer. So that'll be fun. Yeah. And then we can have guests again. Oh my goodness. Without poor sound quality. I know, right? Because there's a couple of guests that I'm going to really want to have on, and I'm really getting sick of these episodes. Just tired of talking to me? That's fine. Whatever. Well, after that slight earlier, sure am. But
You can find that in our descriptor below, as well as if you're on the YouTube on YouTube, there's like a QR code that'll pop up that you can just scan as well.
And of course, like, share, and follow.
And then, of course, yes, if you are not listening, if you're not watching on YouTube, hop on over. You can like, share, and follow, and hit that notification to get notified when we post. But until next week, bye.
Bye.